Hello everyone, welcome to this week's episode of What Are We Doing at This Racetrack with David Perrell. So I've been away for a while. First I was at Monza and I was meant to come back for a couple of days, make some cool videos and then head to Spa for the 12-hour. But I had to travel to Germany rather to coach a customer on the simulator. And at the same time also got a chance to drive for the first time ever around the Nordschleife, which was in a rental car with winter tires. We were in a VW Golf wagon 1.4. So I didn't get a chance last week to make a video, and today I'm getting on another flight to Germany because this weekend I will get my first real taste of the Nordschleife when I take part in the VLN Championship, race number 3, racing a BMW and a Porsche Cayman. So that's why this video we are in the Cayman. Even though this is the GT4, I'll be racing a much more tuned down version. So first of all, why am I racing in two cars? And why am I not racing in a GT3 car? So I learned at the beginning of last year that you can't just turn up at the Nordschleife and just jump into a GT3 car and start racing. You actually have to earn a permit, and this involves a number of steps which are actually quite painful, and you could argue a little bit over the top because there are some loopholes along the way if you did want to actually drive a GT3 car around this insane racetrack. I never actually had the sort of ultimate dream of competing at the Nordschleife. I always thought it was a bit too crazy, but since I've been racing with Rinaldi, they're a German-based team and they have a long history at the Nordschleife, and they convinced me that this is where it's all at. This is where you want to be. So I started to get tempted, and then after my performance with Team Bochenspiegel, which is run by Rinaldi Racing, so after my performance at the Mugello 12-hour, they agreed to help me get my permit with the ultimate goal of competing at the Nürburgring 24-hour either this year or next year. So in order to race at the 24-hour, you have to have your permit, simple as that. So what does it involve? It involves, first of all, a practical exam, which is based on like the flag rules, because this track doesn't have safety cars, for example, around the whole track. Each marshal post acts independently of each other, and you have slow zones and code 60 zones, which are not necessarily linked to other corners on the track. So you have to learn about the yellow flag rules, the slow zones, and when you can overtake safety vehicles, etc. And that's in a written exam. Following that, you have to do a B permit, which is more practical stuff, but it's at the racetrack, so it's like sort of a day of lessons followed by driving around the track with an instructor in groups of three cars. I'm not entirely sure if that's in a road car or in a race car. I think it's in a road car. I'll be doing that on Thursday, and then on Friday you start to do real practice laps in a race car, I think still with an instructor in the car. And then finally on Saturday you do your race, which is a 4-hour race shared between 3 drivers, and the intention is to get your 8 race laps in, and you have to do that twice. So you have to do two races in a slow car. I forget the class name, but it's either Porsche Cayman or a BMW 240i. Both are effectively road cars with roll cages. Apparently very slow in a straight line, but incredibly difficult to drive fast in, because you're having to take pretty big risks because of the lack of power. So you got to do 2 weekends, and you got to finish 8 laps between the two, effectively doing 16 racing laps. Once you've done all of that, you are handed your race permit, and you can start to compete in races like the 24-hour in more aggressive machinery like GT4s and GT3s. The major catch is, obviously, you got to pay someone for these permits, and specifically the races themselves. You can't just turn up at a race and be like, oh, I want to drive your car, I'm getting my permit. You have to pay the team. The team have to pitch up, they have to give you tires, fuel, a car, insurance, all of those things, which means that all in, your permit's going to cost you about 15 to 20,000 euros. And that up till now is the reason why I haven't had one. It's so expensive. And unless you have the real opportunity of earning money by racing at the Nordschleife, or you want to do it as a hobby, I couldn't really justify the expenses. So luckily for me, I have a sponsor for these two races, starting at VLN3 this weekend, and then from there I'll compete in the the 6 hour, which is technically a qualifying race for the 24 hour. Now, why am I doing this particular race in two different cars? So what's going to happen is I'm going to start the weekend in the BMW. I'm going to start the race, and then mid-race, after my first stint in the BMW, I'm going to jump out of the car and wait for another car to arrive, the Porsche. I'm going to jump in that and finish the race in the Porsche. We are trying to do this because we're trying to see that if it's possible for me to do all 16 race laps on the same weekend. Then if the next race is cancelled due to bad weather, at least I've done the 16 race laps and I've got all my other permit stuff done. So we're hoping that the organizers and officials will be kind to me and hand me my race permit without having done the two race element of the final permit steps. So this weekend I'll be doing the race in two cars. I've never done any race in two cars. Hopefully get my 16 laps in this weekend, and then with a little bit of arm twisting and convincing, which is not easy with the German officials, hopefully I can be in the Ferrari GT3 for the 6 hour qualifying race. That's highly unlikely. They're probably still going to want me to do the 6 hour race in a BMW or Porsche road race car thing. But we are trying to maximize opportunities, because effectively, if I do get my permit, we don't want the first time for me driving a GT3 car to be on the weekend of the 24-hour race. Obviously, the team will consider that a major risk, which is why it's not definite that I'll be at the Nürburgring 24. But we are going to try and cover as many bases as we can to try and get me there for the main race well prepared. When I drove this track the other day in real life, it was so cool leaving the pits. I've driven on Gran Turismo, I've driven the Nordschleife a million times, like many of you. I used to play it with a DS3 remote, a DualShock remote, in the Group C car that I think was in Gran Turismo 3, and try and get a sub 7 minutes or sub 5 minute lap time. I could never finish the lap. So initially I hated this racetrack because I could never finish the lap. But once I finally got a steering wheel pedal and pedal setup, I was able to start to enjoy it more. And now these days I do just drive around here for fun, like I am now while I'm talking to you guys. So I mean, obviously, because my flight's leaving today and I haven't had many laps on the sim in the last 3 weeks, I thought I'd squeeze in an hour of practice around the Nordschleife before going there. Some just quick racing news on from the last 3 weeks. I competed, obviously you guys know if you've been watching my videos, at the Mugello 12 hour, where our car caught fire unfortunately. Then we went to Monza for the Blancpain endurance race, round 1, and had a pit stop issue which cost us a lap and resulted in us finishing 7th in class. In the end we bagged the points, but a top 5 was definitely possible, and a top 20 overall was easily within our grasp. So that was just a shame. I started the race in 32nd after combined qualifying results, got us up to 20th, so 12 positions in an hour. Then handed over to my teammate Renat, who we decided to put him on slick tires, but there was an issue in the pit stop with one of the tires not going on properly, and it cost us 20 seconds, and that sort of resulted in us losing a lap very quickly afterwards when a safety car came out. So that was a shame. That was a race of what could have been. Then we went to Spa last weekend, just a few days ago, for the 12-hour in the 24-hour in the Preventic series. It's so strange. It's called the 24-hour series, but most of the races are 12 hours. So the first one was at Mugello, the second one was at Spa. I was not there to do many laps. I was there to help my co-drivers because they were customers. So I only did qualifying, and then I only did the race. I didn't drive before then. And as a result, I didn't, oh, here we go, boom. I didn't get that much time to help set up the car and also learn the tires. And unfortunately, this wasn't isolated to us. A lot of teams on the Hankook tire were getting punctures, and we couldn't understand why. Then unfortunately, in the second phase of the 12-hour race, we started to experience punctures as well. First, our sister car got a puncture, then I got a puncture, and then it sort of escalated from there where in the end, between the two cars, we got, I think it was 11 or 12 punctures, 8 on the one car and 4 on our car, so 12. As a result, we decided to retire both cars. Well, we retired my car, but that was after our sister car landed up in the wall because of a puncture. So it was a massive shame. Our car definitely had the pace. We were leading the race overall at one point, and we were first in class within the first 4 hours. But in the end, it just wasn't to be. So three races, 3 unfortunate results. 3 races with really good potential because we were in a good position at Mugello as well. And in the end, I've done 3 races this year without anything to show for it. So we're hoping that this weekend at the Nordschleife, in my VLN race, we'll be sharing the car with the legend Nick Foster, my mate. We raced Suzuka 12-hour together, 10-hour. We're hoping that we can get a good result this weekend, but most importantly, getting the laps in. These 8 laps are going to be critical. Okay, so there you go. I hope you found that useful. To know sort of how to get a VLN, a Nordschleife license. If you guys have any questions, if you're interested in getting your permits, then just give me a call, a shout on via my email address or via my website, via the contact form, and I'll introduce you to the right people to get the permit. I know it's not cheap, but it seems that there are a lot of people who've done it because, the race is 200 cars, close to 200 cars and 3 to 4 drivers per car. It means that there's a lot of people who are willing to put in the time, and I hope someone listening here is also willing to do the same thing. So drop me a mail, visit my site, fill in the contact form, and let's see if I can help you get your permit. Otherwise, I will catch you guys next week. I'll be back for a few days, and I will definitely be recording some track guides then and doing some live streaming. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace.